what the Lord will share with us on tonight. Come on in the room. 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 Everybody, come on in the room. It's good to see you all coming in tonight. I think I was muted for just a minute there. I'm so sorry. But I hope you hear me loud and clear now. As you come in, speak to your brothers and sisters, tell people how good it is to see you. Glad to see that you are here and that you are experiencing the favor and the blessings of God. I want to talk to us tonight about it's a Jesus thing. It's a Jesus thing. I'm in a series here around our church, and I'm preaching on the Christ-centered life, and how so many times we get focused on ourselves and we miss the real picture, and it's really not about us. It's about that Christ-centered life. And I believe if we focus more on who he is, not only on who he is, what he is saying, what are the instructions that he's given unto us to follow, and if we follow them and do what he says do, I just believe that I have not seen and ear have not heard what God has in store for us. So I wanted to talk to you today about it's a Jesus thing, and I wanted to talk to you out of John chapter 4. In John chapter 4, Jesus entered into a place called Samaria. And when he got to Samaria, he says to his disciples to go away and go into the city and buy. He separated himself from the disciples because there was work that he needed to do. And at the time that he was getting ready to do the work, he could not do the work and focus on the work and focus on the explanation to the disciples as to what work he was doing, which is a good thing to stick a pin in. Sometime the work that you're going to have to get done for God may cause for isolation. It may cause for the fact that there are times when you cannot engage with other people while you're working on what God tells you to work on, because sometimes engaging in them will make you lose time in accomplishing what God says accomplish. And sometimes you have to explain too much while you're trying to accomplish so much. That's why in Genesis 22, Abraham told the young men to abide here while I and the lad will go yonder and worship, because there was a certain point where he did not need to keep asking or answering a bunch of questions. So when it came to Jesus showing up in this city, it was an encounter that he needed to have, but he wanted to do it in private without answering so many questions. So he came to a well, and when he came to a well, there was a woman showing up at that well, and it was in the middle of the day. It was in the middle of the day. And when you look at this, John chapter 4, one of the first things you can write down, or somebody can even type it in the notes, and that is the plan of God, the plans of God. Jesus says, I must needs go through Samaria. Now, where he was on his way to, Samaria was not the only route to get to his next destination, but there was something that needed to happen in Samaria that he planned his day out to be able to take care of what needed to be taken care of in Samaria. And I want you to know that God has a plan for your life. You're not just haphazardly out here arbitrarily moving through life, meandering, and nothing is on the agenda and the mind of God concerning you. He knows the thoughts that he think towards you. He knows the plans that he have toward you. And if you rejoice in anything, please rejoice in the fact that you are in the plans of God. You are in his plan. There are a whole lot of people who don't plan much for you. There are a lot of people who perhaps plan for your failure. Um, there are a bunch of people who don't care what happened to you. You're really not even remotely on their mind. But it's good to know that you are on the mind of God. If nobody else have a plan for you, God has a plan for your life, and it is not a plan to fail. It is not a plan to be defeated. It is not a plan for your life to be worthless. No, God has a marvelous plan for your life. I must needs go through Samaria. There's something that must be accomplished in Samaria. There's something that I have to take care of in Samaria. There's something that must be accomplished in Birmingham on the north side, east side, west side, or south side. There's something that must be accomplished in the city that you're viewing me from. There must be something done in the address that you are viewing me from. There must be something done through whatever mobile device or computer that you're watching me on tonight. God says, I have a plan. I have a plan. I must needs go through Samaria. There are some things that must be accomplished. Well, not only do I praise him for his plan, I want to thank God also. Write this down. The timing of God is always right. The timing of God is always right. He shows up at this well at an unusual hour, an hour where normally you would not draw water. In the heat of the day, you would get up in the cool of the morning and draw water. But he shows up at a well where the majority of the people are gone. And one lady shows up who is a woman of Samaria, but she had a colorful past. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. But Jesus' timing was right. He knew that that woman would show up at that time. And he knew that I need to be there at that time. I want to tell somebody today to go on and rejoice and start getting happy and get your praise on, get your celebration on, that the Lord will have you and me in the right place at the right time. We are getting ready to have a time-sensitive miracle, a time-sensitive breakthrough. At the right time, he's going to let you meet the right people in the right place that will prepare you into the right destiny for your life. His timing is always right. Let me say this to those of you who do not value time. You're missing out on so much. There are some people, you know, you're supposed to be at a place at a certain time. And when you know you're supposed to be there at a certain time, why do you wait so late before you leave to be at that next place at a certain time? How is it that every appointment you're supposed to have, you're never there on time? I know it's going to get tight through here. You're never there on time. You're always late, and you think it's cool to make late entry into a place. You think that's cool. It's okay if I'm 5 minutes late. It's just 5 minutes. Well, that's just 8 minutes that you could have left earlier that you would not have had to be there 5 minutes late. You could have been there 3 minutes early. But the reason you do it is because you don't value time. You're not thinking about time. You're thinking that, hey, I do what I want to do when I want to do, how I want to do it. And when you do it that way, what ends up happening is, suppose something that God was getting ready to do and distribute would be the thing that he was going to do at the exact time something was supposed to start. And because you're not there on time and you're not valuing the time, you can miss the blessings that have your name on it because you're not in the place you need to be on time. When you check Genesis, everything that God made and everything that God created and everything that he spoke into being, he did it as far as time was related. He did certain things on the first day, second day, third day, because he is a God of time. When he comes back to receive us, it's on time. And I pray that we get in a place with God that we value time. If this woman had decided, I'm going to wait 30 minutes later to go today, if she had decided, I'm not going to be there at the time I usually be there, she could have missed the Jesus encounter. All I'm telling you is value time. Lord, I wish I could get into that. How in the world are you late for a meeting that you've been knowing about for 2 weeks? How are you late for church every Sunday? It's a habit. It's a spirit. And then I wish I could talk. I wish I could talk to some pastor that'll pay me some attention, or some people who are in charge of protocol when it comes to your church. Why do you start? Why do you start meetings and worship service late while you're waiting on other people to show up? Whenever you wait on other people to show up, you are dishonoring the people that showed up on time. Why should I be penalized and have to wait for something to start because you're waiting on somebody who's consistently late? You're going to mess around and miss some of the greatest blessings God have in store for you when you do not value time. Now, once you got there and begin to have a conversation with Jesus, let me tell you something. If it's going to be a Jesus thing, then you must be ready. Get this now. You must be ready for some of the hard questions that Jesus will ask you. You must be ready for being brought face to face with your shortcomings and your difficulties. Here it is that Jesus says unto this woman after he talked to her for a while, go get your husband. Go get your husband. And she says unto him, I don't have one. Because Jesus was exposing to her what it is that is hindering you from becoming that great person that I planned for you to be. Now, get this. That's not an offensive question as much as it is a question to bring her face to face with revelation. And the revelation is you have been living lower than what I intended for you to live. You are living a life that was not purposed for you to live. That's why you hear it this way about yourself, because you've lived such a life of ill repute that the women do not even want to deal with you. Nobody hardly want to be around you. And sometimes you have to be exposed to your wrongness before you can walk in what is right. And Jesus says unto her, in other words, girl, you've been living a life that I didn't destine for you. And I'm glad that you can go on and admit and be honest as to where you are now. Whoever I'm talking to tonight, be honest with where you are now. Be honest with where you are right now. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever's going on in your life, Be honest with where you are, because you cannot get to the fruitful finish if we keep forsaking the flaws. I say it again. You can't get to the fruitful finish if you keep forsaking the flaws, if you keep trying to perpetrate as if this is not going on. It was really going on. And Jesus says unto her, when she said that in John 4, he said, you spoke well. You telling the truth. You telling the truth, but there's a little more to that truth. And the other part that you left out, and the one that you're with now, is not yours. He has a way of exposing us, not to embarrass us, but to elevate us. Jesus is not in the embarrassing business. He's in the elevating business. And he brings us face to face with ourselves so that we can turn from our wicked ways, so that we can come to him and admit to him, this is really what's going on in my life. And Jesus had already told her that the water that you're now drinking, you're going to have to come back here again. But if you let me speak into your life and you drink from the water that I give you, you will never thirst again. So Jesus, in his encounter with her, was exposing to her true problem. And whenever Jesus asks you a question, it is not for information for him, it is for revelation to yourself, because he already knows everything. So Jesus then turns around and he changes this woman's life. He changes her life by exposing truth to her and revealing to her who she really was. And when she confessed it and went on and admitted that that is true, that's exactly who I am, that's exactly what's going on in my life, the last things was her life changed so much until she dropped her water pots and went running into the city saying to the men, come see a man that told me everything that I ever did. He took a woman who was not accepted by other women and turned their town upside down. I'm telling you today, you can be the one. You can be the one. Quit looking at everybody else as being the one. Hey, you the man, you the woman. Hey, you got it going on. You such and such, you such and such. I've come here tonight to tell you it could be you. It's you. You have the power in you. You have class in you. You have dignity in you. You have the power of the Holy Ghost in you. All God is saying to tell you tonight is avail yourself, open yourself up, start moving in the things that God would have you move in, and watch and see how your life can become so meaningful. Your life can be such a blessing to so many others. There are some people stuck that can never get out unless you throw out the lifeline. It's something about your life that's going to be a blessing in the life of others. Let God use you. Let God be glorified. Let God be magnified in your life. I didn't come to stay long. I didn't come to see how many comments I can get. I didn't come to stay on here an hour to boost up some numbers. I come back here tonight just to tell you it's a Jesus thing. It's a Jesus thing. Let God arise in you, and let God even arise among you, and watch your enemies be scattered. Let God be seen in you. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. But it will not be for you to receive the credit. It will glorify the Father which is in heaven. It is not about you. It is about him. Let God arise. Let God be seen in your life. Let the Holy Spirit rule your life. And when we do that, others can be saved. Others can be converted. Lives can be changed. And I know God has a marvelous plan for your life. Let the plan come to pass. Hey, thank y'all tonight for tuning in here tonight. It was a joy speaking with you tonight. Come on, give some hearts and some thumbs. Come on, give them hearts and thumbs. If this word bless you, give the hearts. Come on, give the thumbs. Hey, Listen, those are the ways to give right there. Those are ways to give. As you give, I'm telling you that it will come back to you. It'll come back to you. Time on January the 10th and the 11th. And I look for you to be in the place. Come on and let's have a good time. Hey, I pray that you have a great rest of the night, great tomorrow, and a better weekend and a wonderful Sunday. Don't forget, get up and get to the house of God on Sunday. I'm inviting you, come to Faith Walkers Church, 2838 Ruffner Rd, Sunday morning at the 9 o'clock hour. Hey, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here tonight. I pray that the Lord will continue to bless you and you experience the favor of God. Walk it out by faith.